Good evening to you all. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's international break, so I thought, it's time to bring back the vlogs that we do, talking about the news whilst I'm out and about. Obviously, I've got that little guy in front of us, and we are currently down Rollins Gill. And then we're going to walk up to High Spen using the old yellow brick road. I grew up around here as a kid for the first 12, 13 years of my life, so doing a bit of reminiscing. But we have some news to talk about. A couple of players have been left out the Champions League squad, and we have a reduced squad. And of course, as all would have seen, the news about David Hopkinson is our new CEO. Remember, I did a video on that 3 months ago, which I'm going to show you a clip of. But let's get going. What are you doing, little Les? What are you doing? What are you doing, Les? What are you doing? Yes, hello everyone, welcome back. So, we are not talking about that Swedish forward that has left the club. We're not going to go on about it. We're not going to regurgitate stuff like that. Because as far as we're concerned on NFTV, that matter is closed. We could milk more views. We don't want to go down that route. Done. He's out of the club. Let's move on from it. We will talk about CEOs and David Hopkinson and stuff in a moment. But I do want to talk about the Champions League and obviously the squad. So, how it works... Obviously, if you remember from 2 years ago, as the little guy runs past us, UEFA want a 25-man squad being submitted. You need 8 homegrown players in that 25 squad, but 4 have to be at least club trained. This is where it seems that the confusion lies with a lot of supporters in general. I'm not talking about the two, just in general. So, homegrown is basically any British player that has been trained in the UK for ages between 15 to 21. So we could sign, I don't know, give us an England player, right, randomly. We'll say Reece James signs for Newcastle. He's classed as homegrown because he's been trained in Britain. Club trained is different. Club trained basically means they come from that club and they've been trained for at least 3 years between the ages of 15 and 21. So currently Sean Longstaff would have qualified for that, but he's obviously departed the club. So Lewis Miley can also qualify for that. That's the difference between club trained and homegrown. They're totally different. If you don't have 4 club trained players, your squad gets reduced, which is what happens to Newcastle United. So instead of having a 25-man squad, we're going to go down to 21 because we haven't got enough club trained players. So Newcastle have named an official 21-man squad. And there's 2 notable absences from that, which of course is John Ruddy. He does not make the cut, and neither does Jamal Lascelles. Of course, Newcastle are stacked with plenty of youth goalkeepers, so expect Max Thompson to be in the B list. I don't want to confuse these yet, but we'll come to that B list in a moment. And we're stacked with centre-backs. You've got Emil Kraft, who's in there, who can do cover. You've got Malik Chow, Fabian Schär, Sven Botman. You've also got Alex Murphy, who'll probably be in the B list. And you've also got Dan Burn, just to name a few. So Newcastle have plenty of cover. You may have been noticing in that 21-man squad that there's no Lewis Hall or Lewis Miley. And that's because they don't have to be registered because they are under either age of 21 or under. So they can be put in a B list. Now the A list is predominantly your 25-man squad unless it gets reduced. And there's always been a B list for the last 3 to 4 years. So the B list basically consists of all your 21 and under. So that's why Lewis Hall and Lewis Miley aren't in the 21-man squad. Match day, so we'll take it Barcelona. Newcastle will need to name that B list and they can do that on the day. So for example, John Ruddy can't play at all. However, let's just say there's an injury to Ramsdale. Then Max Thompson can be submitted on the 21 list and place himself on the bench as cover for Nick Pope. Lewis Hall and Lewis Miley can also be named on the day. So really, it doesn't make much difference for Lewis Hall and Lewis Miley. So they will be in the Champions League squad, although they're not on the official list. Also on that 21 list, it could be all the under 21s. So if Newcastle have an injury crisis, for example, they could have Sean Neves back up as striker. They could have Alfie Harrison. They could have Cathal Heffernan, for example. So hopefully I've explained that. Hopefully I haven't confused you. So if you want any questions and them answered underneath, I'll try my best. A long walk to go. We've got about 3 miles left to go. We've done about 2. For him, that's probably just enough. 5 miles. Right, next piece of news, which you've all seen, no doubt. and it's the appointment of David Hopkinson, which isn't a surprise. I did a video on this about 3 months ago as we were expecting that announcement to happen. It's just taken so long for it to come through, and the appointment of Grace Williams. I'm going to use some of the clip that I'd done 3 months ago because he talked about growing a business, and of course he comes from the likes of Real Madrid where he's worked at the past, and of course also in North America. With him being Canadian, he knows the background.
So after a career as long as I've had in North American sports, it's such a privilege to be working with a club with such an incredible legacy and a legacy of winning. This is a brand that has such impact around the world and for such a long time. Yes, how to utilize this digital audience in order to grow our business globally. What I will tell you is, as exciting as it is that we've got this audience, we have not cracked the code on how to really commercialize it yet. We're still doing it with partners and on their behalf, but actually directly monetizing that with the customer, we're not there yet. We're still working on that. And if any club tells you that they've figured out how to commercialize their digital social audience, please point me to whatever room that's in. I just don't think we're there yet. It's wonderful to have this scale. It's an incredible platform, but we're not there on commercializing it digitally yet. It's an exciting digital tool. Having worked in North American leagues for so long, you're doing regional deals, and even at a big city like Toronto, and big clubs like the NHL's Maple Leafs or the Raptors, you're still dealing with markets that are maybe, you get the whole Canadian market, 30 million. With the opportunity of Real Madrid, honestly, to think about differently on scale, but also on cultural sensitivity.
So what will he bring then? So I think it's positive. I have to put on me good cop, bad cop, because I wouldn't be doing anyone justice if I didn't. I just hope that it doesn't go down the global fan route, because it's so important for local Geordies, for one, not to be priced out, and two, keeping that DNA. It's so important. You've only got to look at some of the bigger clubs and they're losing that. Like a statistic is going around that Liverpool have the most fans who live the furthest away from Anfield than any other Premier League ground who live near their football club. We don't want to go down that route. You've got to have the Geordie DNA. But overall, I think it's a great appointment. Now, this leads into the question. Obviously, I didn't want to talk about speculation with stadiums and stuff, but will he be the driving force to announcing whether we get extended St James's Park, which personally, that's what I would like. I'm not going to argue we should get a new stadium, we shouldn't, because that's a video for a different day. But if you decide to go down the route of a brand new stadium, he is an expert at commercial, getting the most out of the revenue. So he'll be working obviously very closely with Peter Silverstone on that, and maybe naming rights and stuff like that. Now, it's also, just as a side note away from that, I don't know if you guys have picked this up. It was about 7 to 10 days ago that planning permission has been put in for Newcastle United to extend a little bit more of the training ground. What does that mean? That means we aren't getting a new training ground anytime soon, because if we're building and extending it, we're not going to get that our way. However, could we rename that training ground for a sponsor? Maybe the Seller training ground, maybe Adidas or something further down the line. It's something that the club really have to consider. Now, also, he'll be coming in looking at all of the club. Now, obviously, there's a big push on the women's side of things. Obviously, they've spent quite a bit of money in terms of salaries, bringing in some big players like Morgan Gortra and Jordan Nobbs this summer. And of course, last season, you've seen Rachel Furness come back home and Demi Stokes. So the money has been ploughed there. And it's so important that the women get into the WSL, get into the Champions League, because that means revenue coming back into the pot. Now, you can spend as much as you like on infrastructure like training ground, stadiums and the women. It doesn't affect your PSR, and it's really important that also. And I was critical of the other under 21 lads the other day outside Huddersfield, but it's so important that we develop players because we can sell them on. We're not very good at that, and if they don't make the first team, you can sell them on, as I say. So overall, he'll look at the whole picture of that. Obviously, Darren Eales does depart, and this is what he said about leaving. On behalf of my family and I want to extend my sincere thanks to everyone connected to this special football club for welcoming us into the Newcastle United family. To all the supporters, the staff, the players, the coaches and ownership, you've made my 3 years here so incredible, and I'm immensely proud of what we've achieved together. I've made memories that will stay with me forever, and I'm also excited what the future holds and the successes of the club can go on to achieve. I want to warmly welcome David Hopkinson as the club's new CEO. Newcastle United is in great hands, and I would like to wish David and the executive team every success as the club continues on the next part of this exciting journey. So yes, I said Darren has played a vital role in the growth and success of Newcastle United in his 3 years as CEO. We thank him sincerely for his immense contribution to the club and extend our very best wishes to him and his family for the future. I would like to personally thank Darren for his friendship. He will always be welcome to St James's Park. And then Jamie's gone on to say, I want to thank Darren for his exceptional leadership during a period of positive change on and off the pitch. We are all sorry to see him leaving Newcastle United, but his health and his family must come first, and he leaves with the best wishes of everyone connected to the club. Darren will always be part of the Newcastle United family, and we wish him a full and speedy recovery. You're not daft, are you, son? You're not daft, are you? We're going back on? We're going back up the road? How in? We're going this way. Me and Ferdinand are always mucking about, having a bit of fun. So that was what Darren Eales said. Now obviously Jamie Rubin, and you've heard from also Yasser there speaking about Darren Eales departing. And look, Darren Eales, I've met him a couple of times, well I've met him 3 times now. I've met him in Newcastle, in Tokyo and in Philadelphia. Yeah, he's a lovely chap. He's the sort of chap that you can have a pint with. And look, he has been criticised and he's been praised. He's obviously been criticised for bringing in his inverted commas pal Paul Mitchell, which didn't go down well at the club. But also you've got to look at since he's been here, the growth of Newcastle United, the income that Newcastle have coming in. And I don't know the exact figures, but I'm sure it's gone up by some ridiculous amount of income that Newcastle United have brought in. So from that side of things, he'll see that as a success, and obviously he's seen it as a trophy lifted in Champions League football twice in 3 years that he's been at the club. So in records have been smashed with the likes of that Swedish striker that was signed and then sold, and of course Nick Voldemade as well. So you look at that and think, do you know what, it's in a better place, and look, it is. You can't deny that. Yes, you might have a couple of blemishes on there, but overall I have to say that Darren Eales has done a good job from where we were, and obviously it does help that, you know, you've got investment coming in. Not that we're allowed to spend all of that, mind, but before we wrap up this bit, I want to quickly show you what David Hopkinson said. I am incredibly honoured to join Newcastle United at such an exciting time in the club's history. This club represents something truly special. It has an extraordinary history and heritage, incredibly passionate supporters and ownership, players and staff who are committed to excellence. Having worked with iconic teams across different countries, I understand what it takes to build sustainable success at the highest levels of global sport. I greatly admire what has been achieved by the club so far, and I'm excited and motivated of what is ahead to strive to position Newcastle United among the world's elite clubs. Cloudy blue skies. If you're still watching, everyone, drop us a like. That'll be much appreciated, just for the creativity alone. I could have done this at home, but nah, I'm not in a boot. Right then, everybody, I think we should wrap up there. Obviously the transfer window is out the way, which I'm actually really happy about. I hate making every video about transfers, speculation, because it's not something I actually enjoy. However, obviously now the games are going to come thick and fast after international break. Obviously I'm down Nottingham this weekend, keeping an eye on the lasses. Obviously I'll be on the press duties, so we'll get a couple of interviews and a watch along. That might be on my sister channel. He's panting away. Look at him. Look at him. You hot, son? Just wait until we get in the car. He gets mad in the car. Thankfully I've got plenty of water for him. So yeah, we'll wrap up there. Obviously the loads of videos coming on NFTV Extra. I'm also going to re-kickstart the Footballers Live, my personal channel, away from the rest of the lads. So yeah, that is it from us two. Working around High Spend, Rollins Gill, Highfield, the back end. So lovely, reminiscing about my old days. But I will love you and leave you. Drop your comments down there below, and we'll see you very soon here on Newcastle Fans TV.